Greetings and welcome back to Switch to Linux, another supporter stream. Odd to have it on a Wednesday, but here we are because tomorrow's Thanksgiving and I'm nomadic and on the road and I have an invite to Thanksgiving dinner, so I decided to accept it. And I'm going to be taking most of the day off tomorrow, maybe working on a few little things on some of the channels, but I may or may not actually put up a Switch to Linux video tomorrow. If I do, it will be a GIMP tutorial. We are back on Friday with the weekly news roundup, of course, because we have got to have the weekly news roundup. I hope you guys enjoy the new kitty on vacation picture. I'm going to be, as long as I have time, I'm going to be attempting to pull in something nearby where we have been recently. Of course, that is Delicate Arch at Arches National Park, which is a very good national park. Unfortunately, it's a little bit too busy. It was actually full on Sunday. How do you fill a park that's acres and acres, like miles and miles and miles? But in fact, it's so big, I can see the back end of the park from my campsite now. And the entrance to the park is 20 miles away. That's how big it is. And it was full. But anyway, yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying that. We do have a new video over on Tux Traveler. If you are not following the travel adventures, that one we're talking about. We're having low power issues because the angle of the sun, and if I get one cloudy day, I can't do video production. So if there's holes in the video production, it usually means it's cloudy where I am. Now we're going to be remedying this soon. I'm going to be installing one or two of options to not have that problem in the future. So spending more money, yay, and figure out where to put more stuff in here, yay. And it's already
capitalism at work, baby.
Hey, you know, that's the thing. It's the
high price of freedom. You have to figure it out on your own.
That's the thing, you know. But it's cool though, because I'd like to see all these multi-millionaires and billionaires that are traveling around the country and the world in private jets lecturing all of us about carbon footprint. Match my carbon footprint, yo. I haven't plugged into a wall in a long time. I'm powering off the sun. We might miss a day of work here and there, but anyway, we do have a super chat in from Yakov. Thank you for that super chat. I have no idea what that is.
I was going to say, what is that?
I have no idea.
It looks like the Linux Mint symbol. It's like mint coins.
It does. Is it mint coins? That would be cool. We're talking about a new crypto on level 1 tech. I'll let you watch the show. I'm not going to talk about it.
It's from Israel.
Yes, you saw that one. Yes.
Oh, don't get political, okay? Don't say a name like that.
Oh no. It's not political. It's sexual.
Oh, okay, never mind. Oh boy.
Hey,
this wasn't a family-friendly show, y'all. We're not supposed to.
Yeah, this was one of the latest level 1 techs. So if you are thus curious, enjoy. Phoebe Boo. How's it going? Jeffrey says, let's talk solar heaters with Mylar. Yeah, I mean, solar heaters with Mylar is, you got the sun, I guess. I'm not having heating problems. It's down to like 20s where I'm at, but the diesel heater actually keeps the van, actually, sometimes a little too warm. I'm regulating the temperature down. I'm setting it the lowest setting. It's still like 24°C in here. Which is pretty good. But yes, we're not having battery problems. We're having sun problems. And the problem is that the batteries are so low. Like yesterday, I pulled in a total of 300 watt hours, and that runs my big computer for an hour. That's, why we didn't have a video the other day. I'm trying to do a few videos on the laptop. It just doesn't. I need an i7 in there. I have an i5 in there. It's not a bad laptop, but maybe I'll invest in an i7 laptop so I can do some stuff off grid as well. I guess I should say further off grid.
I was about to say, what's wrong? Does it just take too long to actually render the video?
Yeah, so the 9-minute video that I put on Tux Traveler today, which is 1080p 60 frames per second, it wanted to take 4 hours to render on the laptop. And the big computer did it in 15 minutes. So that's your difference. Moonbase self-graze, how's it going there? Do we have power? No, I need you to fly that spaceship over here and zap the solar panels for me. That's what I need you to do. Moonbase Alpha, I will throw up some signals so the space aliens know where to go. So, but come and zap me.
Bring down one of those lunar gallium nitride chargers.
Yeah. That's the thing. You know what I need to do? I need to take my smoke alarm here, which if you guys are unaware, smoke alarms actually work by, there's a Geiger counter inside of it, and it's a radioactive element. Usually it's americanium, and basically it's constantly triggering the Geiger counter, and if the Geiger counter gets blocked because a particle gets in there, that's what causes the smoke alarm to go off. What if I just take the americanium and just build a nuclear reactor in here? That'd be cool, right?
Is that legal? Is that legal? It's very green, but is it legal?
Really not. Greetings from Scotland. How's it going, Scotland? You've been gimping again. I have been gimping again. Indeed, I have. And I will continue gimping because it's a good series that's easy to do and beneficial and needs updated. So, although somebody did tell me I went too fast, so I might slow them down a little bit. Tim O, how's it going there? Of course, Tech's on. Hi, Tech. One, hello, the GNU hat guy. All right. Wonders where the crane is that put the kitty up there. The kitty just jumped. I mean,
he's a big cat, but he's got like it's 60% muscle in his legs. That's the secret.
Yeah,
he's not all top heavy.
Yeah, actually though, when I was there actually next to Delicate Arch recently, there was a crow there that was actually bigger than my cat. It was a little terrifying. It's like, what is he doing? Waiting for somebody to fall off the edge?
Is it legal for you to shoot it and like mount it in your van?
That would be fun. In a national park, though, yes, it would be illegal to shoot the wildlife in a national park.
Come on. Who needs laws?
1,000-watt Honda generator. Any generator I have has to be either propane or diesel. Let's see, Robert Lopez, greetings, happy Thanksgiving. Greetings and salutations from Dr. Rob. I haven't seen Dr. Rob in a while either. Hello, Dr. Rob. Bunch of new folks come in. Am I actually out of the YouTube gulag? I actually know my view count was actually slowly going up again. Or was that just the crazy video with the Linus Tech Tips, then Mint Budgie, and I did a few other ones that were pretty popular recently too. So, how efficient is the diesel heater? It is actually quite efficient. So I have I think it's about a 2.5 gallon tank, roughly. I think it's 15 or 16 liters. It's a knockoff Chinese device. So everything's in liters, Celsius metric stuff. Full response to about 2.5 gallons. And depending on how cold it is, I can probably go, if it's in the 20s, like it's been the last couple days, I can go about a week with that tank. If it's like 30s, 40s, I can actually stretch that about 2 weeks. Got a setback in therapy? No. How do you suffer injuries from an air mattress? Inquiring minds got to know. I hope you are doing better though. Free energy generator. Yeah, I don't expect the government to do anything. Come on. They did tell us that we were getting the Kufi vaccine governmental data in 2077.
Yeah, Pfizer was trying to make that. I was like,
yeah. Okay, guys, if you need any reason to be somewhat skeptical, that might be it. I don't know.
Like,
we're not going to talk about that anymore, though.
I was going to say,
go and get jabbed up. Get like 5 of them a year is what they want, and irregardless of what your doctor says, just jab yourself, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. Let's see. Easy go heaters take more energy to start than to run. Yeah, this one will run about 100 watts for about 5 minutes while the glow plug heats. But once the glow plug is hot, the only power it's using is the fuel pump and the fan, which is actually fairly negligible. Getting ready for Turkey Day. Absolutely. I need your kitty. I have a mouse problem. All right. Well, I have one of them you can definitely have. The other one, I kind of want to keep that. 9.46 liters. It's okay. I thought it was okay. What's 15 liters? I didn't think it was 3.5 gallons. I thought it was a 15 or 16 liter tank, but I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe it's a 10 liter tank. don't know. For future videos, could you check
15
out
is 4 gallons.
4 gallons? It's definitely not 4 gallons. Okay, so maybe it's closer to a 10-liter tank. I don't know. I would check the documentation, but it's in storage. It's and it's
10 liters is 2.6.
Yeah, I'm thinking the 10-liter is probably maybe what it is. I don't know. Check out Divest OS for Android.
I think it's Divest OS.
That would make sense.
Like you're divesting from
Instead
of
my
investing
brain's
in.
fried, man. My brain is fried.
That's why we're here, man. We're here
I
to help
don't
you.
know. And the reason is I have 3 phones floating around. 2 of them are in production, and 1 of them is on standby mode. And the standby 1 mode, I actually put some apps on there to find free campgrounds. So I don't know if I want to wipe any phones right now. Unless I actually maybe upgrade my phones, then maybe I'll look into it. But yeah, I would like to do more Android ROM stuff, but I'm still happy and content with my old Nexuses that are probably way out of date. Actually, EOS is still pushing updates. So anyone with the old phones, EOS is still pushing security updates. Switch main desktop. All right, we are about 15 minutes in. We have not hit topic. Let's do that, and then we'll come back to more comments later. All right, so our topic today is tips to start with Linux. And I kind of wanted to do this one as kind of a follow-up to the video. Of course, I did the video on, looking at Linus's approach to Linux. And, of course, predictably, all the Linus shills are like, you're just being an elitist. Like, that video was so non-elitist. It was hilarious.
But Tom, you were being an elitist.
Well, was I? I mean, if I was being an elitist, would some of you guys that are fellow elitists tell me where? Because it's
Absolutely.
like literally, I had people like, people don't want to use the command line. Like, dude, I never talked about using the command line. I think you're stereotyping me, actually. I mean, I did use the command line this week. Okay, I'm setting up a Bandcamp account for somebody, and they handed me all of the CDs. Actually, they wanted to hand me all the CDs, and I'm in a van, and it'd be very hard to deliver them to me, so I sent them to my business manager. My business manager, who is getting started with Linux, could not get the CDs to rip into MP3s, so he ripped them into OGGs. And so it's way faster to use the terminal convert OGGs to MP3s. And then I had to delete them all and convert from OGG to FLAC because Bandcamp doesn't use MP3s. The terminal was more efficient at doing that. But for the most part, I'm not a guy that's like, everyone needs to get into the terminal, and if you don't use the terminal, you just suck.
I have the opposite experience of converting from one sound format to another. There is a GUI tool, sound converter, I think it's called. It's doing it way faster than any terminal
Really?
solution I ever came up with.
I have a script for. I have a script
and
for
this
FFmpeg.
this tool uses all 8 cores, whereas a script does not, at least not in an easy way.
Yeah, the only thing I couldn't get working, maybe somebody knows how to do it. I could not get my script to work recursively in directories, so I had to run it on each directory. But I had it was like a grand total of like 150 music files, and it took me 10 minutes. So I just had to run the command on each directory. So, but yeah.
I remember the most I ever did with this tool. I think it was some 30 files that needed to be converted from OGG to MP3 because my car system doesn't support OGG, and it used maybe a minute to convert all 30. So.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I actually, for a brief period of time, I was converting things into WMA. Because they're smaller and they sound the same until I found out that no MP3 player in the world knows what a WMA is. I'm like, really? Delete all those, or I do. That was back in my Windows days. I'm using Windows Media Player. They're trying to embrace extend extinguish into the audio formats, and they almost got me. And until I got a real MP3 player, and it's like, what is this thing? Oh. So
I remember my first use of the sound compression was in '98 or '99 when I started using. After a month after I got my first internet connection in August of '98, I started using IRC, and the channel I joined and hanged out with for 2 years. They used wave files as part of the conversation. So and the client was set to automatically fetch. But the files were big, so I found a sound a professional sound editor. I didn't know anyone else, and I found a crack that and I used that back in the day. And then I used to compress them into wave with the MP3 extension. And
we had some DOS tools because you couldn't get the GUI stuff to work as well doing that. So we had some DOS tools, and it took like 4 or 5 hours to rip one CD, and then you had to stop every now and again and check the progress, and then you'd have to delete the WAV files after they converted because hard drives weren't big enough to handle a whole CD on WAV files at that time. So it's a lot of fun. But anyway, we have followed the rabbit down the trail. Coming back to the trail, we want to talk about how to properly get started with Linux. Not just going onto Google and typing in best Linux distro for XYZ or whatever. Instead of doing that, what we want to do is we want to take a little bit more of a proactive approach. Like watch somebody install a Linux distribution, and there's tons of great YouTube videos. Obviously, I think my channel's the best, but no. But I mean, DT does distro installs, I believe. Does he still do some? I don't know. Linux Experiment does. Yeah, I was pretty sure he does. For some reason, I need to go back and watch a bunch more of his videos to get his videos popping back up in my feed because I keep on forgetting to go back and because he does some great content. I just haven't gotten to it all. So there's that Linux Experiment, Tech Hut. If you guys know some other guys that are just doing a lot of installs, watch a few people do installs. But even before you get started in that, my first tip is start experimenting with FOSS software on your existing computer first. Yeah. So let's use that as a brief talking point first.
I remember in his many talks, Richard Stallman said that during the QA sessions that one of the ways to start doing this is to install some free software on your existing Windows or Mac system and familiar, so that when you're comfortable of doing the switch, then you already know many of the tools that you are going to use.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. Tech.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I would say for anybody, if you're like wanting to get off of, I mean, I'm a big fan of OnlyOffice. I think I'm the only one here who's like an OnlyOffice fan, but I'm a huge OnlyOffice fan.
It just doesn't work for my workflow.
It doesn't. I know. I watched a video on it. I think that I think that's if you want something that's very familiar, because kind of everybody in the Windows world uses Office, right? So so using something like OnlyOffice will give you that same interface, and you'll have a consistency there, and you'll go, oh, look, this really isn't all that different. I don't know why I'm paying whatever the subscription is, $12 a month or whatever it's supposed to be nowadays, $100 a year.
It's a small chip of your soul. For life.
Yeah, right. Okay, so just some soul shavings over there to Microsoft, and just keep editing Word docs. I mean, that's the way I would go. Just to start there. I don't really know. I mean, I don't listen to music on like any of my computers. That's all on my phone. But what's like a good music, like a FOSS music player that's on Windows? Like, because I know there's a lot of people out there who listen to music like on their computers. I know several people.
When I was on Windows, I actually liked Windows Media Player. That's what I used.
That's not FOSS though.
I know.
I used
but that was when I was a Windows moron. You use what?
I used Winamp all up until I stopped using Windows.
I mean, Winamp was the only alternative. I thought. I mean, I can't remember because I can't say I've really listened to a lot of music on a computer either, personally. So
'Cause I know VLC does all the video. I mean, I've used VLC for years and years, and I think everybody
Yeah, I would
knows
say
about
VLC is probably what I would do. In fact, that's
I was gonna say
VLC
for
is what I
video,
put
but
on my Mac. Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say I know it's for video, but I assume it does music too, right?
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah. Mhm.
So yeah, VLC
Yeah.
is a go-to, man. It's a must-have.
I think it even has a playlist manager now.
Nice. Yeah,
Really?
what's
That's awesome. That's the one thing VLC was always missing.
Hold on, I haven't opened
I
VLC
think you
on
have
my
to
Mac
enable
forever.
it
Hang on.
somehow.
Okay, hold on. To clarify, yeah, they've always had playlists. I've used VLC to create playlists, but what has always been lacking is the library, is what I was thinking of.
I
We
don't
got
know
a
about the library,
super
but
chat
yeah.
in from Red Wing Blackbird. Thank you for the super chat. I tried to set up a dual boot with Windows 10 Linux Mint. In the selection menu would be available on boot. Nope, each OS has its own drive, just boots to Windows 10. Okay, so if each one of them is on its own drive, what happens is the computer will generally want to default to using the Windows boot manager, which Windows boot managers do not like Linux. So if you want to go into Linux more, or what I might do in that case is there's going to be a hotkey in your BIOS for a one-time boot menu, which is going to show you all of the options you can boot from. It's usually either going to be F11 or F12. Push that when the computer's starting
delete.
up, and then delete though is generally a BIOS. That's not usually a boot menu.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so we're not necessarily going into BIOS.
Right,
it's just usually I think I've seen F9 on HPs as well. So F9, F11, or F12. That will give you a one-time boot menu, which will show you all the drives. Or you could go into BIOS and have it intentionally boot off of the Linux drive, which will give you the option to boot into Windows or into Linux. So those are some of the options that you might have to go with.
And there is also the option for those who don't have two drives or don't want to or are afraid to damage the Windows installation. You can have a live session, or you can install on a USB key.
Or these. I did used to install on USB keys, which is good, but they will run. They will burn themselves out after about a year or so. External hard drives, they don't generally burn out, and they're getting cheap. These are like, this is a 1 terabyte. It's like $40 now. You can run Linux perfectly fine off of this, and you won't even know it's a USB drive, as long as, of course, you're using a USB 3 port to run it.
Yeah,
but one of the things that you mentioned at the beginning was how you choose your what to install, and what I always tell people is that find some friend, or if they have figure out if they have some friend who are using Linux, and start using the distro that they are using, or ask them why they use it, or if they have a recommendation on what you should use, because then you have someone that you can call or message on occasion if you are stuck on something. And then usually when people start using Linux and start learning it, they become
self-sufficient. Yeah, and that's good. If you find if you know somebody that can help you out, and frankly, it's not true that Linux users are necessarily elitists. Many in the Linux community are willing to help you out. Just stay away from the Arch forums, maybe, but even them, I mean, they might help too, but the fact of the matter is there is a lot of help out there. So that first step, as we said, install software. So Tech mentioned OnlyOffice. I personally use LibreOffice. The problem I have with OnlyOffice is it doesn't allow you to do the things you need to do to format books, and that's the primary thing I do with LibreOffice, is format and produce books. And so that's why I use Libre. They're both good, and there's several other options out there to try as well. And so trying out these applications, which will have Windows versions, they will have Mac versions for image editing, GIMP. You have GIMP, which I'm doing a series on GIMP to familiarize yourself with the tools and how to do things. So these are all things to do. What's the good next step? Anybody?
One other, just finishing the how to choose it, and if you can't find someone who can help you, and you are forced to use Google in order to figure out. As you said, don't search for the best Linux, but search for beginner in Linux or easy to use Linux, and then you will find a few easy.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because like as much as I think Ubuntu is crazy and going crazier by the day and the release, it is a decent distro for beginners, although I wouldn't put it necessarily in a list of best Linux distros, but it is a good distro for beginners. What defines that? Well, it generally is going to work with the wider variety of hardware. You're not going to have to fight with things in the terminal. And for the most part, you're going to have a decent experience on it. And then you can learn as you grow in Linux more about snaps versus Flatpaks versus repositories and things. But just running something like Ubuntu, which is a beginner-friendly distro, is just fine. I'd rather you run Ubuntu than run Windows or Mac, unless you absolutely have to run those platforms. What's the next tip after the software?
What's the thing that we all use, all of us, that we're using right now to watch this video? What is it?
Web browsers.
Web browsers. Thank you.
I was gonna get snarky, but Dell monitor, No, but I mean, and pretty much your web browsers are almost exactly the same. It's just Linux just has more options for web browsers,
Yeah, and they tend to opt for Firefox as default in the most distros, and some will have Chromium as the default, but yeah.
Yeah, and there's a few that do. Doesn't Farron OS, I think, does Vivaldi, I believe, as default?
I don't know.
I'm not sure either. I have Vivaldi as a backup browser. Like if I need something that's like doesn't have any kind of plugins and I'm just having issues with other browsers, I just like run like a pretty bare bones Vivaldi install. For that.
The streaming computer, I have Chromium, Firefox, and LibreWolf installed, and on my media PC, which is running Arch, I have Firefox, Chromium, Brave, Vivaldi, and LibreWolf, and they all serve different purposes.
Yeah.
So that way, I don't have any cross-browser weirdness going on.
Or browser exclusively. There's nothing but Tor, no add-ins.
Yeah. Well, there's always the Tor, but
hide from the government.
I'm not a huge fan though of the Tor browser bundle. It's too easy to have DNS leakage. If you want to use Tor, Whonix or Tails, I mean, come on. And there's a few others out there too, I think.
I hear you.
But anyway, moving on.
Yeah, I was about to. Then one of the things that that I might have to choose when they are installing is what desktop environment to use. Like KDE Plasma or GNOME or some other. My advice is if you are the kind of guy who really likes to customize your desktop environments with colors and how things works and operate, then Plasma is the one I would suggest, because you really can customize a whole lot. Whereas in GNOME, they are a little locked down.
Yeah, I think though that the Windows and Mac of the recent decade have destroyed people's desire to even do that, because you don't even think about it anymore. It's like, well, this is just what it looks like, other than light mode, dark mode. And that was one of the things that I got excited about coming back to Linux. It's like, man, I can actually customize things like I used to do a long time ago. And I don't do it a lot, obviously. I usually do it once, get my computer set up exactly the way I like, and then I don't change anything.
I'm the same.
So he mentioned though desktop environment. So let's talk about what that is. Now, technically, when you're running Linux, you're running GNU Linux. Okay, so it's the Linux kernel with a lot of GUI stuff on top of it. And the desktop environment is the primary layout of your computer. The good thing with Linux is there is something for everybody there. So if you like that old classic traditional Windows feel and you're like, I don't want to experiment with anything else, you have Cinnamon, you have Mate, you have XFCE. Those are all about as plain boring Windows as you get. And that's what I do. I don't want weird stuff that Windows and Mac today is trying to cram onto people. I don't use extra desktops, desks, workspaces. I don't want disappearing and hovering panels at the bottom. I don't want planks. I want a traditional layout. I can see every application that's open. I can click it to pull it up. I have launchers on the side, and I have a menu, and I can quickly show the desktop. That's the way I like mine. So I use Cinnamon personally because it has a lot of other modern features, like I can tie in my Nextcloud account and sync up calendar appointments, things like that, which is actually a really good benefit to Cinnamon that Mate and XFCE do not have out of the box. Plasma can be set up the same way, but you can literally do anything with Plasma. So it's this weird plasma ball. You just shape it and mold it and however you want it to be. And some people think it's a little too confusing. But there's Plasma. Budgie does a good job of a modern Windows-like feel with some Mac-like elements to it. More modern, and then GNOME is very hip with the youngsters. It has a more of a tablet type feel. So there's a lot of different things you can do, and the cool thing is you can actually throw a few of them onto your computer and try them all in the same build if you want to. But warning, that could cause some conflicting files. All right, anyone else jump on about desktop environments?
Only that some distros make the effort to make the default desktop environment to at least look a little or function like Windows. I think Mint is one of those who do that.
Mm-hmm.
I've come to love Budgie quite a lot. That's actually what I got on this laptop here is a Budgie DE. And I've always loved Mate because it's kind of that GNOME 2 look that I can't stop loving GNOME 2 as well. So I don't know which one I like more, but Budgie and Mate are definitely the two that I gravitate towards.
Yeah, I do like Budgie. Budgie is a fun environment. The one thing I just can't get beyond is obviously it uses Nautilus for the files.
Yeah, I mean, you can customize your file.
Yeah. But the other thing is I really want launchers, not pinning stuff to my panel. That's something it doesn't do.
I can understand that.
Yeah, but who knows? I don't know, maybe somebody's figured it out and I just haven't seen it yet, but I don't know.
Robert Lopez says Plasma is nice, but very top heavy. I don't know about. I don't use Plasma mainly because every time I go to customize Plasma, because I'm like you, I like to customize my desktops, things just break. Like Windows don't open or they crash randomly, or the whole just desktop environment stops for a few seconds and then has to restart. I'm running, Explorer.
You're doing it wrong.
I know I am, but that doesn't mean I have to like it.
I'm running Plasma on my Raspberry Pi, and it's starting to really get in my way. And so I don't know. Part of me is like, maybe I should wipe the Raspberry Pi, run it instead off of a USB drive instead of the SD card, and build it with just the default XFCE for Manjaro, because that might be the best. Like I wanted to do Cinnamon, but Raspberry Pi does not support the graphics rendering that you need for Cinnamon. Budgie, I couldn't get. There's something about Budgie I couldn't get working right. I don't remember what it was. So I'm running Plasma, but the more I use Plasma, the more I don't like it.
But there is one thing that I've heard a few people ask, and that is, what's the point of having all these choices of desktop environments and all these choices of the different file managers and so on? And the reason is quite simply that someone wanted to do something in a different way, so they changed it and gave it another name. And this is why we have a whole plethora of different sound players and video players, because someone wanted to play the video in a different way or have it look like in a certain way.
And I completely support that, because the way I consume content, just going back to the music option, the way I consume content is going to be different from the way other people consume content. So like as I was working on things on my laptop, I clicked, I think the FLAC files defaulted to Rhythmbox, and then Rhythmbox has that stupid thing where when you close Rhythmbox, it just minimizes itself to the taskbar and it keeps playing. It's like, and there's no setting to turn that crap off. I get so frustrated with that stupid Rhythmbox. I just nuked it. Like, die, Rhythmbox, die. Because frankly, I prefer Lollipop. It has that option if you want it, but there's a thing called an off switch. And I like the way that Lollipop manages music better. Some people want lists. Some people want one place to do everything, like podcasts. Rhythmbox will do podcasts just fine. So there's different preferences in different ways, and that's good. And don't get so bogged down in the decisions. Oh, I don't know what to do. Don't have paralysis of analysis. If you really don't know, just pick something.
Yeah.
And, you know.
And that's the thing.
Just give something a shot and see what happens.
Yeah.
Do it in a VM.
This reminds me of another thing that people are struggling with. How do I find software, and how do I figure out what I can install? As Thomas commented on many videos, there is this software center. It's called in there's some names for it depending on what operating system you are installing. Find that and just browse through the various categories and see what's and that's what I've been using Linux for 21 years now, and I still open the software center. It's not called that in here, but open that and just browse the different categories. I often look at what kind of games is available and what kind of tools, specific type of tools. And I always find something that I didn't know about.
Yeah,
even to this day.
And that's an important factor, just to keep that in mind. We're going to jump over to comments real quick, because I realize I've fallen behind on the comments here. There's some good ones. Let's see. Love the topic. Very good. Never trust a guy who styles his hair like Awesome Augur. Who's that? Is that...
He might be talking about Linus Tech Tips. Yeah.
I don't know who Awesome Augur is. What happened to all the guys out there? Cause I used to watch his show, and it's like, I go over there and it looks like Luke gained like 100 pounds and Linus went all like hobo look.
Yeah. Linus did he did the virtue signal haircut where he didn't cut his hair through all of COVID to show that he was doing his part, not to reduce the spread. I mean, so.
No, I don't know.
You look like one of the CNN anchors. They just grew their hair out really long.
just an observation. And then Luke just didn't go anywhere. Just ate donuts, I guess. I'm jealous, though. I want donuts, man. I walked 21,000 steps today, though, and I got my activity goal list twice. My weekly activity goal I did twice today. I hiked up a lot of mountains.
Wow. I remember this lady who attended the prayer group that I attended before moving. She took the tram up to the house where we were staying at that evening, and just taking the tram, it's a trip of 10 minutes. The step counter counted 8,000 steps just by sitting on the tram.
I did that driving down a dirt road once. Watch is like, congratulations, you hit your activity goal. I ain't done nothing. See, that's how you get activity, guys. If you want to lose weight, just drive down a dirt road. Your watch will tell you you're losing weight. Jeffrey calls me an elitist. Thank you, Jeffrey. Lamer, how's it going there, Lamer? Greetings. Won't be able to chat much. That is all right. Don't use TDY. Only you're not a Chad. You're a noob. What? Mint Mate edition. Ooh, yeah, there you go. I heard Toss is in love with Windows 11. Oh well, that's fine. I'm not a fan of distros based on Ubuntu and wish they'd make it Debian. Yeah, I think that distros based on Ubuntu are getting worse and worse because of mostly I think it's Ubuntu's push for snaps because it's leaving gaps in the repositories is kind of what I think might be going on. I don't know. Let's see. I think Manjaro has one of the best implementations of XFCE, though. It really is really good looking. Linus Torvalds as a Windows user. What? You have a nice bat text file like they run on a fresh Linux install. Like for installing stuff, things like that. That would be fun. BudgetDE via Solus just works with no compromising issues for me. Yeah, Solus, I did Solus as a challenge once a while back. It was solid. It really was solid. That was before they put snaps in. And so it was limited on software, but all the major software was there. If anybody else sees any specific comments you want to read, go ahead. First step, replace proprietary software with free and open source software on Windows, preferably multi-platform. Second step, try and test different GNU Linux desktops as live keys specifically. CDs, SSD, just USBs, VirtualBox, absolutely. Third, choose a distribution and install it. Absolutely.
One thing that they might have to do is to turn off secure boot because not all distributions support secure boot as a matter of principle.
Yeah, you might need to disable secure boot. Audacious has a Windows version, right? Windows updates can ruin your dual boot. Yeah, what happens with Windows updates is if Windows pushes an update to the Windows boot manager, it will wipe out your grub, is what will happen. You can get it back. It's just, it's kind of a pain.
Yeah. I had that happen to me 21 years ago.
I missed a super
It was
chat.
not fun.
Matt, $2 super chat. Thank you. Been using Debian Stable. It's been fun and stable. Of course, there's a reason they put it on the space station. Absolutely. I really miss Winamp. What happened to Winamp? The llama kicked it. Never mind.
Yeah, there is some news going on that the Winamp is coming back.
Oh, really? I did hear that. Yeah. What was the one? I did the music player review. One of them actually, you can install all the different Winamp skins. Was that Audacious?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you can always do Audacious on this Winamp.
Yeah, and I have a lot of the old skins that they had for download. And
I might need those from you. I actually do have Winamp on my Windows 98 VM. But I only have like 2 or 3 themes. Yeah.
Yeah, and the one that I always have used for many years is Star Trek theme. It makes it look like the LCARS Star Trek system.
Nice. For Word, even WordPerfect, although LibreOffice and OpenOffice are good, a professional science fiction writer, and the publishing world is very hooked to Word. It's not. I completely disagree, Angus. Also a publisher and an author, and a lot of the people that I know from conferences, like actual publishers, they are using OpenOffice and things like that because Word, it's a lot harder to format a book in. So if what you're doing, though, is if you're just sending your manuscript to a publisher, they're going to say Word because the typical person doesn't know what an ODT format is. But when the actual publisher gets it, they convert it to ODT and actually use not OnlyOffice, but OpenOffice or LibreOffice to do the formatting to feed into the printers, the publishing machines. And that's literally everybody that I know that actually does interior book design like I do. We all use LibreOffice or OpenOffice. But if somebody else is printing yours, they say, oh, send it that. So you're probably working with either a vanity press or you're working with a traditional publisher that's trying to simplify things for the authors. That's probably what you're doing. Talking about pressing the 1X startup key. It's every boot, of course. You can go to BIOS. Yeah, you can always go into the BIOS and set that, of course. Pop OS and elementary. I can get behind Pop OS. I'm not sure I can get behind elementary.
I love the way
okay.
elementary looks. I just what is it, Pantheon? I just wish that Pantheon was like stable elsewhere. Like I tried to use OpenSUSE's version of Pantheon earlier this year, and it was so broken.
How's Fedora's?
I have no idea. I don't touch Fedora, man. Me and Fedora don't get along.
I
don't dislike Fedora. I had to step away from them. I love them, but it's not for me. I need something a little more stable. I've switched to like the LTS mindset now. Like I do everything LTS. I don't have any rolling releases anymore. So
okay. Rick Forges, his ideas for switching is in what order: watch some videos, get a USB stick, install on a junk computer, and finally blow Windows and install it on main. Yep.
There was one of the commenters who said that another way to test Linux is to install it in a virtual machine. That's an excellent choice.
Yeah. Learn how to use VirtualBox, assuming, of course, your computer can run VirtualBox. So that's the caveat, of course.
Yeah. You might have to enable virtualization in the BIOS, because I think it's it's disabled by default.
Yeah, many computers do disable that by default, and
really,
yes, many of them do. So you have to enable virtualization. I had a case where my CMOS reset itself, and it's like virtual machine won't start. Like, what? Oh, go back and reset it. Whoops. Oh. Solus does not have sea monkeys in the repos. Well, I don't want sea monkeys anywhere. I mean, get those sea monkeys out of here.
Yeah. Anna Rita said that she misses Winamp sometimes. And if you want to experience a clone, then Audacious is the one you want to start with. But it doesn't. You have to change you have to change the skin to make it look like Winamp, because it doesn't by default. I think you experienced that when you tried it in the video a few weeks back.
Yeah. Tech Hut's tips. Hi, Tech Hut. I mentioned your channel earlier if you were not here yet. But don't do it yet. And the yet is caveat. First, switch the workflow over to FOSS Linux native apps, and then you'll know what you're doing. Absolutely. So you're on page with us. Yeah.
But if you have two computers who are over a similar age, installing it on one of them, erasing what's on there, that's a good way to start, because then you have another Windows system that can help you along, and if you are stuck with something, that's the way I did it back in the day. I got a second computer and I wanted to install Linux on it, and I used a few years to familiarize myself with how I did things. The first couple of years using Linux was a little hard because it didn't have the software that I wanted to use. But the last few years that I had, when I still had a single Windows system, I used the Windows computer less and less because that didn't have the tools that I wanted to use. So it can take a while to get used to it, but it's worth it in the long run.
We have a lot of comments.
I say Thumbtack Jake says, do you think that Linux as a whole needs to be made more simplistic, as people are calling for since the Linus Tech Tip videos?
There is they just have to choose the right distro. There are easy to use distros, and one of them selected Arch, which really isn't easy to use for fresh.
Let's also, before we answer that, remember that what happened in the Linus video, though, that was a weird bug that nobody knew about.
I never seen that before.
and so,
but he commented in the end of the video that, or in the next video, I don't remember, that he was stupid by not reading the warning, only do this if you know what you're doing.
And you know what's funny? That is the point that I made on the video, and all sorts of people that are big followers of his channel, I guess, and don't know who I am, is saying, oh no, that's Linux's fault. Like, no, it's Linux's fault if it doesn't give you an appropriate warning. It is completely your fault if you have to type an entire passphrase to do something.
I was saying, it's your fault if you ignore the warning.
Screen, this will break your system. You know.
Yeah. It is your fault if you don't read the warning.
I mean, it's one thing if it's just hit Y and enter. I would completely say that's the distribution's problem, because we're all conditioned to do that. But this wasn't just a Y and enter. This is you got to read this whole phrase. You got to read and understand this. And I'm glad to see that he commented on that, making the exact point that I did, but his followers are still abusing me over it. So abuse all you want, though. That's fine.
But in his defense, it was a big wall of text that scrolled across his terminal. So not reading the warning is an easy thing to miss. So I'm kind of agreeing with him. Having that the special warning in a separate color might be a good thing.
That would be a good thing. But as far as should Linux be made more simplistic, I don't know how you can make it more simplistic.
I was going to say, I mean, compared to what it was when I got started with Linux, you know, in the mid 2000s, I mean, it's way easier now than it was then.
Yeah, this whole setup that I'm streaming on now, I'm not sure I've went into the terminal yet. You know,
I rarely go into the terminal on my box over here. I mean, rarely.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I do is when I am doing the image assets to put a new book on the website, it's way faster to run my image assets through scripts to push out all of the sizes and dimensions that I need than it is to do it any other way. But other than that, I don't usually bother.
I also think something like more simple or more simplistic is relative. I mean, you know, there's some people who like live in terminal, and so like it's really simple for them to know the commands than trying to figure out a whole new GUI.
Correct. Yeah. But another factor is if you make something too simplistic, we've run into the same problem with Windows and Mac in a way where, sure, you've made it simple, but you've made it 100% impossible for people who know what they're doing to fix a problem.
Yeah, I think that Linus Torvalds commented on that. It's about 10 years ago, and I think that it was around the same time that he was mad at NVIDIA, but that's a different rabbit hole. He said that GNOME changed, they removed a few features that he depended upon. And he said in an interview that if you are making an idiot-proof system, then only idiots would use it. So he left for KDE.
And the advanced people won't be able to fix something goes wrong. Is it Fazan says, can you just install Linux and Windows with separate boot partition in a single disk? Not with a separate boot partition. Well, I guess you could, but that'd be a lot more complex. I don't think so. Probably only one boot partition per disk, right? So you can install them both on the same disk using Grub as your bootloader and choosing it. There is a problem with that, and that is if Windows pushes an update to the bootloader, then it will render your Linux boot inaccessible unless you fix Grub. So that's why I always recommend, if you're going to dual boot Linux and Windows, use a separate hard disk for each. And that's where the external hard drives come in handy. External hard drives can run Linux perfectly fine. And some of my computers...
A friend of mine does a dual boot in one of his systems. But he, when he installed Windows, he physically disconnects the power and the data cable, SATA cable from his Linux hard drive, and vice versa when the other way, so that they cannot interfere with each other while updating and reinstalling.
And that's exactly why I run an icy dock. In fact, when I just built my friend's computer, he uses it for music production, which he uses LMMS on Linux, and he uses Linux for most things now, but he's installed Windows for the games to play with his friends. And we gave him an icy dock, put 2 hard drives in there, and it's like, okay, just push this button for Windows, push this button for Linux. Done.
I remember 20 years ago I had there was also this Linux software. I don't remember the name for it, but I used it on many systems back in the day for testing. It installed a bootloader on a floppy disk. For those who still remember what that is. And its only function was to select what hard drive to boot. Something like that could be used as a way to easy select booting. But the last 3 years, the BIOS manufacturers have installed an option to change on by pushing on F11 or F12 button. So it's moot now.
So there's some updates from Angus, the author. Didn't say there are not writers who use workarounds. I'm talking about the editorial level. Okay, guys, we have a very evil playback number. Somebody else play this back because I'm still sitting here staring at 666 playbacks. Anyway, so he says on the editorial. Okay, I can understand on the editorial level because, as is fair to the comment, a lot of technically inept young women who only use Macs and Word are editors. I agree, but that Mac can open up the ODT file, and on the when you're doing the edits to the book, this is before you do interior design. It doesn't matter what you're using. It can be Word, it can be OnlyOffice, it can be LibreOffice, it can be OnlyOffice. It doesn't matter. You need a word processing file.
The command line.
Yeah, I mean, you want it to. So absolutely, yeah. You are completely right that yes, a lot of these editors are just like, I don't know anything but Word. You know, it's like it's an ODT. I don't know what to do with an ODT
Use
file.
OnlyOffice. You don't need to know anything else.
But yeah, you're right about that. You are completely right about that.
Just a comment. There's Black Walton here asking what language you are. I think he's referring to me. I'm a Norwegian, so jeg snakker norsk til vanlig. So.
Oh Lord, we still have a ton of comments here, and I may not be able to get through all of the comments because we're coming up on the 8 o'clock, and my battery's at 12.8, and that means I need to shut down the big computer pretty soon.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to be a cold night.
Yeah, so maybe we should have some closing.
Yeah, give us your closing thoughts. I'm going to skim through the comments real quick and see if there's anything big, but my apologies if I didn't get to all your comments.
One area that is where Linux really is shining, and there is almost no hardships, is printers. These days, the printers generally just do work. There is a few brands who are some troublesome, but most brands work flawlessly these days. You just connect it and it works. You might have to install a package, but it will tell you what package to install, and it will prompt you for if it is okay to do that. So printers is 10 years ago or 15 years ago, it was could be a hassle finding drivers, but now printers are the easiest thing. And the same with graphics drivers. If you're using anything, if you're using an AMD card, there is no problem with anything. NVIDIA still can be some issues with, but that's because they are being hard by they are playing hard.
I would say as a closing idea here, Tom's right about the external hard drives, but I took a solid state drive and just put it on a USB 3 board, and that will go stupid fast. So
Nice.
I've never seen those. That looks fun.
This is just this is a Western Digital green. I picked a green because I don't need a whole lot of write speed. I just need a lot of read speed. So it reads very fast, and its writing is kind of moderate. But I mean, if you're not doing, major projects, I think it's fine. Which I'm not. So,
for good
what
beater
was
distro,
it?
yeah.
Yeah, the alternative says Ubuntu or Debian. Your personal opinion. I think I'm gonna assume all three of us here are of the opinion of kind of in a vacuum, probably Debian. But I would say I actually like Ubuntu if you rip out snaps and put it in Flatpak, which is what I did. I'm exclusively Flatpaks on my Ubuntu box over here.
Yeah, if those were my only choices, I would probably go Debian personally.
Yeah, me too.
But that's just because that Snap issue.
Yeah, Snap. I'm with Tom on Snap.
Absolutely. All right. We're gonna wrap this one up here. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Probably not a video tomorrow. Maybe not. I'm not specifically planning on it. I'm probably gonna play video games tonight and not do much else because it's a holiday evening. So
heard that.
And we will be back on Friday, usual time, with the weekly news roundup. And since I'm joining somebody for Thanksgiving tomorrow, I'm going to ask them if I can plug my van in and completely top off the batteries so I can be okay for the next couple weeks.
give them $15 for the electric grid.
I'm sure they'll be like, oh, just plug in over here.
Those good God-fearing people, that's fantastic.
Absolutely. All right, guys. So thanks for hanging out, everybody, and we will catch